The grand ballroom of a luxury hotel in Manhattan shimmered under crystal chandeliers, filled with the low hum of elite conversation and clinking glasses. Top investors and socialites gathered for an exclusive networking event hosted by a billionaire entrepreneur, a woman known as much for her sharp business instincts as for her bold, sometimes reckless sense of humor. Everything about the evening reflected power: tailored suits, designer gowns, and quiet competition hidden behind polite smiles. Near the far end of the hall, almost invisible among the glamour, Michael Grant pushed a janitor's cart across the polished marble floor. His uniform was simple, slightly worn, and a stark contrast to the luxury surrounding him. Most guests barely noticed him. To them, he was just part of the background, someone meant to clean up after their presence, not exist within it. Michael kept his head down, focused on his work. Every movement was steady, efficient, almost disciplined. There was a quiet strength in the way he carried himself, though no one paid enough attention to recognize it. His mind wasn't on the event. It was on his daughter at home, her school fees, and the long list of responsibilities waiting for him after his shift. As Charlotte Ryenne made her way through the crowd, laughing confidently with a group of high-profile guests, her attention briefly shifted. Her eyes landed on Michael. Something about the contrast amused her, the world of wealth and influence colliding with someone so seemingly ordinary. With a playful but arrogant spark, she slowed her steps. "Hey!" she called out, her voice cutting through nearby conversations. Michael paused and turned, slightly surprised but composed. "Yes, ma'am." Charlotte glanced at her towering bodyguard standing beside her, a heavily built man with an intimidating presence, arms crossed, scanning the room like a silent sentinel. Then she looked back at Michael, a smirk forming on her lips. "I'll give you $10 million, she said, loudly enough for those nearby to hear, "if you can beat my bodyguard." The surrounding group burst into laughter. Some guests turned their heads, curious, while others raised their phones slightly, sensing entertainment. To them, it was nothing more than a rich woman's joke. Harmless, absurd, and guaranteed to fail. Michael didn't laugh. For a moment, he simply looked at her, as if weighing the words carefully. His grip on the mop handle tightened slightly, though his expression remained calm. "Are you serious?" he asked quietly. Charlotte raised an eyebrow, amused by his tone. "Completely," she replied, "unless you're scared." More laughter followed, louder this time. Boris Cade cracked his neck slightly, stepping forward with a confident grin, clearly entertained by the idea. To him, this was already over, but Michael's eyes didn't show fear. Instead, there was something deeper: calculation, maybe even restraint. He slowly set the mop aside, placing it neatly against the cart. His movements were deliberate, controlled, as if he had done something like this many times before. The energy in the room began to shift. A few people stopped laughing. Something about Michael's posture had changed. He no longer looked like just a janitor. There was a quiet confidence in the way he stood now, shoulders relaxed, gaze steady, completely focused. Charlotte noticed it too, though she couldn't explain why. "All right then," she said, folding her arms with interest. "Let's see what you've got." The crowd formed a loose circle, excitement building. Phones were raised, whispers spreading. No one knew what they were about to witness, but suddenly it didn't feel like a joke anymore. And for the first time that night, Michael Grant was no longer invisible. The circle around them tightened as anticipation spread through the ballroom. Conversations faded into whispers, and the soft background music suddenly felt distant. All eyes were locked on the unlikely face-off at the center of the room. Charlotte Ryenne stood with her arms crossed, her earlier amusement now mixed with curiosity. She had expected a quick joke, maybe an awkward refusal, not whatever this tension was becoming. Michael Grant stepped forward, his movements calm and unhurried. Across from him, Boris rolled his shoulders, a confident grin still on his face. He had handled far more threatening situations than this. To him, Michael was just a distraction, someone about to learn a hard lesson. "Ready?" Boris asked, his tone almost playful. Michael nodded once. "Let's keep it clean," he said quietly. The words barely registered before Boris made the first move. He lunged forward, fast and forceful, expecting to overpower him instantly. But Michael reacted in a way no one anticipated. With a slight shift of his stance, he avoided the advance smoothly. His movements were precise, efficient. There was no panic, no wasted energy, only control. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Boris frowned, adjusting quickly, now taking things more seriously. He circled Michael, looking for an opening. His confidence was still present, but no longer careless. He moved again, this time more calculated, attempting to grab and pin him. But Michael countered just as quickly, redirecting the motion with minimal effort. It was subtle but unmistakable. This wasn't luck. Gasps filled the room as the balance of the encounter shifted. Michael wasn't attacking wildly. He was reading every movement, staying one step ahead. His His breathing remained steady, his expression unchanged. Each action seemed practiced, disciplined, like muscle memory from a life he had left behind. Within moments, Boris tried one final aggressive push, determined to end it. But Michael sidestepped again, guiding the force away and bringing the situation to a controlled stop without harm. Boris froze, realizing he had been completely outmatched, not through brute strength but through precision and awareness. Silence fell. Phones lowered. Smiles disappeared. The crowd stood still, trying to process what they had just seen. Charlotte Ryenne slowly uncrossed her arms, her confident demeanor gone. For the first time that night, she looked uncertain. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice quieter now. Michael stepped back, creating space, and reached for his mop as if nothing unusual had happened. "Just a dad trying to earn an honest living," he replied. But the answer only deepened the mystery. One of the guests, a former security consultant, leaned toward Charlotte and whispered something in her ear. Her expression changed instantly, shock followed by realization. Michael wasn't just a janitor. He had once worked in high-level security, possibly even elite operations. The way he moved, the restraint he showed, it all made sense now. The room felt different. Respect had replaced amusement. Charlotte walked toward him slowly, pulling out her checkbook. There was no smirk this time, no arrogance. She wrote the amount without hesitation and handed it to him. "You earned it," she said sincerely. Michael accepted it with a simple nod. No pride, no celebration, just quiet acknowledgement. For him, it wasn't about proving anything. It was about moving forward, providing for his daughter, and leaving the past where it belonged. As he returned to his cart and resumed his work, no one dared to look at him the same way again. Because sometimes the strongest people are the ones no one notices, until it's too late to underestimate them. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to Enlightened Story and drop a comment below.